Welcome to the Decide to Move podcast, helping entrepreneurs like you make smart, pivotal shifts in your life and business. Tune in each episode for inspiring stories from brilliant business minds and trailblazers to find out how they made their big moves and how you can too. Now here's your host, author, speaker, business strategist, CEO, and founder of Decide to Move, Monica M.Bijoux.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Decide to Move. And as I always tell you, I'm super excited because I always have amazing guests. And this one is no exception. She is here to bring you all the information about how to use the power of using your other hand. And I know when you hear that, you're like, what? I don't understand. Well, when she tells you all about it, I'm telling you, you're probably going to be amazed. And I can see you probably actually by the end of this year using your other hand to actually start creating something new, something different. So today with me, I have Rappaport. She is a relationship photographer, a creative journal expressive arts coach, the founder of Genius Relationships, and the host of LifePix Relationships Podcast. After observing, listening, and connecting with so many couples, ST is on a mission to find out what makes relationships work and how they can become extraordinary. And it's here to help as many couples as possible. Without further ado, help me welcome ST. How are you doing today?
Awesome. I am so excited for this, Monica. Thank you so much for having me.
Most definitely. I mean, honestly, just hearing about your story, hearing about what you do, I am so much pumped and so excited to hear about it because the power of using the left hand, like when most people hear, they automatically their mind goes to something dirty. And since you and I have had the opportunity of talking before, I know it's not that. So I'm super excited about that. But before we get into that, can you tell the listeners and viewers who you are and about your journey and what even got you into photography?
Yes. So I loved photography my whole life. That was like literally something I always did. I think I was paid for it since I was 12. When I was in college, I left school at 16 and I went to college in England, and I did 2 years. When I was there for 2 years instead, and I rented a studio there like the whole time. And the more photography I did, I realized that my favorite part of photography was the connection between people. When you get that real emotion, I did a lifestyle photography before it, like literally just like natural stuff. And the place you get that most is with relationships with couples. So what I do is I take pictures of couples in their ultimate state of love and connection, and then they would choose their favorite pictures and hang them up on the wall like a vision board. Now, I love vision boards. They're really cool. They set your mind in the right direction. But by the end of the day, when you have a challenge, when there's a problem right in front of you, it's not going to solve anything for you. So I was looking for more ways to go and help the couples I was working with. And as you could assume, for me leaving school at 16, I did not like school and did not want to go back to school. So I was looking for something else I could do that is like not through school. And I came across this thing called Creative Journal Expressive Arts. I know it's really long named, but the point of it is using the power of, like you said, your non-dominant hand to really go and help you understand yourself better, make decisions, realize what's going on here, and go and help you know what you should do so that way you could go and solve your problems.
Wow, that's great. And so before we even get into that, tell us about your journey. Like what made you decide to leave school at 16?
Yeah, so I never liked school, which was really funny because I always loved to learn. And like now I'm such a learner. I'm always taking courses, reading books, doing things like that. But the school setting of like being strict and rules and this is what you have to do and this is what you have to wear, and it was not for me. Like I couldn't, like I would just got fed up of it. So what I did was I left school at 16 because I could get my GED then from like the government. And in England, they start college at 16. So I was the same age as the people there. And I went to a school that had people from all over the world. So I got to meet new cultures, new things. And it's true, it was college and it was school, but college is different than school. It's like right, it's not the same as strict. They like treat you more mature. There's less rules. And my favorite part by far of that was like meeting new people, learning about different things. Like last year in the summer, I got to go to South Africa because my friend got married, and I would have like, yeah, I want to get to South Africa because I love traveling, but like I wouldn't have just gone like that. And then when there's a wedding, all of a sudden you do that and you learn the culture and you see the way they live there and what's going on. And it was just incredible. really, really. I think like it was like one of the best things that I've done. So yeah, that's your answer. I hated school, but I love to learn. So I hope that people listening to this podcast also love to learn and get new things out of it and make a lot, but don't force yourself to do something that just doesn't work for you.
Yeah, most definitely. And I can honestly tell you those that are listening definitely are learners because that's why they actually listen to the podcast to get some nugget, something that's going to help them take their life and their business into another level. And, as we've seen with this year being a year of so much uncertainty and, right when you think that things are getting back to normal, it's not, and restrictions are, placed and lifted and put back. How have you seen that in your, like, how has that changed the way that you actually show up for photography? Because I know a lot of your work was in person before.
Right. So a lot of my work was in person, and I was able to, because of that mindset of like, okay, now I can't do photo shoots. I do the photo shoots together with the coaching of journaling. But sometimes there would be like couples that like, no, they just want photo shoots, which is like, fine. I'm totally cool with that. And because of it, I found that much more people wanted the coaching, and I was able to go and provide it for them more. Like I was able to push for them more because I was like, hey, now we're in this crazy situation. No one knows what to do. Everyone's confused. If you write with your non-dominant hand, you won't be confused. Like you'll be able to get those understandings of it. So I moved a little bit away from the photography part and focused more on the coaching, like during the intense, like the real heavy of it. And then we just do the photo shoots later on. Like usually I do it in between the sessions, I do the photo shoots that I just did later on and like worked around it. Like I said, like I literally think that people who want to make this work will make this work. People who don't, just don't.
Yeah, and we'll get them into details of exactly what this consists of. But one question I had, you had said that you used to take photography when they're in their ultimate state of love. What does that actually mean, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so for every couple that is different, what I do is before the photo shoots, I used to just like meet them to figure out what they want, and I would help them get into such poses. Now, because I do the journaling with them, which guys you'll all figure out in 1 second, then they journal themselves before what situations, what feelings do they want that show that represent for them in their relationship. So for some people that is connection, for some people that's intimacy, for some people that's emotional safety. Everyone has their own things. And then at the actual photo shoot, go like to a park or the beach, like somewhere chilled, and they just literally act themselves like they're having fun. How are you going to be on the beach having fun? And I like almost like tell them, pretend that I'm not here. And I just go and take pictures of them while they are in that state. And then they get those pictures of that state that they were looking for.
Wow, that's awesome. I like that. So I'm not going to even hold people in any more suspense because they're probably like, okay, what is this journaling? Oh gosh, another journal book. Oh my goodness, what is she talking about? I would like you to go into details exactly what it is creative journal or creative expressive art is, and how does people, like, how hard is it for people to learn more, like to actually, if they want to actually do it themselves, how can they? But let's start off with what exactly is creative journal expressive art?
Yes. So creative journal expressive arts uses journaling, and expressive arts means not art that you're trying to make a picture, but the process of it to really go and access your subconscious and your emotions. Because what happens is we live in a very logic world. We have like everything that we do in our lives, there's like a logic and okay, I shouldn't say everything. Majority of what we do in our lives are very logical. Even going to the grocery store, what do I need now? Is coming from a logical perspective. Yeah, do you sometimes make emotional choices and pulses? Yeah, but most of what you're doing is logical, right? Now, what happens is whenever we're in a fight or we're not sure, like, what else should I do with my business? How can I grow this? How can I do that? Then what happens is we start our logic brain, which usually tends to be really dominant, starts sending us a whole bunch of things. But my mom said this, and my sister-in-law said that, and my friend said that, and on Instagram I said that. And you're seeing all these things, and you can't really get to understand what you want to do. So what you want to try to do is when you use your non-dominant hand, the hand you don't use to write with, you're creating new neuron connections. You're coming in through the back door, through the emotional side of your brain, right? Because there's two parts of your brain, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. The left hemisphere is in charge of the right side of your body and logic stuff, and the right side of your brain is in charge of the left side of your body and the creative stuff. So when you're doing stuff with your non-dominant hand, when you're doing expressive arts, then you're going into your subconscious from your creative brain and creating those new neuron connections. So that way you could really get the answers. Because truth to be told, whether you want to believe this or not, you really have all the answers inside you already. Your body knows what's best for you. But because of what's we're going on, we can't find it. So when you do something with your non-dominant hand, then you'll be able to go and get the answer.
I like that. I think I've shared with you before, and I'll, share it with those that are listening and that are viewing us via YouTube. I actually am supposed to be a lefty because my mother, growing up, but my mother didn't know how to teach a lefty how to write. So she made me right-handed. And so I write with my dominant writing hand is, my dominant writing hand is my right hand. However, I can do a lot of things with my left. In fact, when I attempt to play sports, and I remember when when they had the Wii that first came out and I was playing tennis, and I was like, am I not good? Like, why can't I hit the ball? What's going on? And I just decided to use my left hand to do it. And I found myself being able to do it like really easy. And then from there, I was able to use my right hand to follow through. And so I realized that there's times when I go to do something and it seems very difficult. I have to use my left hand, which is what I'm supposed to be dominant in. And then it's like this little like it translates to my right hand, like, oh, this is how you do it. So that is, I find that's very interesting, for this method of saying like you can go through the back door. So what do you do for people who are, say, they're left hand dominant like myself, right? And so you're in your logic, but then you have the people who are also very artsy, very expressive. So you want them to use a little bit more logic when they're making decisions. What do you say for those people?
Yeah, so when we actually do the journaling, we go back and forth between both hands. So that way we're using both parts of the brain because we don't want just the emotion. We want the logic part also. So I'll give you an example that anyone could do at home listening. It's really easy. You could go ahead and get started with this. You were going to start by drawing a picture with your non-dominant hand of something that you're not so happy that's going on. Like maybe there's something in your business that you wish was different, or you not sure if you should hire this person or whatever it is. Just draw a little picture. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It could be a stick figure with your non-dominant hand. Okay. Now you're going to take 2 color markers. Yeah, because there's so much more fun than just pens. And you're going to have a conversation between your 2 hands, which is really just in your brain, right? And you're going to be speaking to the picture, to the situation on the paper. So questions, when you're thinking about them logically, is going to come with your dominant hand. So whatever you are, lefty or righty, whatever, that hand is that you're going to write the questions. Answers are going to be without thinking, letting your subconscious do the work and answer those questions. So you go question, answer, going back and forth between your 2 brains and really making those neuron connections. So I'll give you some sample questions for you to start with, but you could totally make your own, continue the conversation, see where it's going. You could start by asking the picture, just who are you? Answer that question. How do you feel? Answer with your non-dominant hand. Why do you feel this way? And what can I do to help you? That really gets you to understand why you're feeling like that, what triggered it. And then instead of just getting stuck, oh, I'm mad, oh, this isn't working out, or oh, I'm happy, like, what can I do from here to actually go and move me forward? Because there's no point. You want to identify it and then move on from there. So yeah.
Oh, wow, that is great. I like that. It's like really tapping into both sides and really being able to, it also gets you out of overthinking.
Yes.
Because I think that's super huge and important. Like,
whenever you're overthinking, you're going back into your logical brain. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times people will find when they're writing with their non-dominant hand, they're writing really short because like it just has the answer. Sometimes it has a lot to say and will go on long, but yeah.
Wow. So where did you learn this method? I know that you said that you went to school to learn it. Is there a particular like place that you can learn this, or if someone wants to actually get even more deeper into understanding creative journal expressive art, how can they do that?
Yes. So the person who I don't want to say made it up because like it was based on other research that she did, but really like put the whole method together. Her name is Dr. Lucia Capacchione. And she has a whole bunch of books. So anyone who like wants to just like learn more before you want to just go into trained in it, you could just Google her name and you'll get a whole bunch of them. The Recovering Your Inner Child or the Creative Journal. And what she did for training was used to be until Corona was you go for a week to California, intense, really emotional, like every day everyone's crying and like really releasing things and like laughing a lot because there was just a lot of emotion going on there. And then you have a year of working with like closely with them. You work with clients, like work with them, you read more books, write reports, stuff like that. And then you go back for another year. Now, because of COVID, this helps a lot for people who don't really think they could go away for a week. What they did now is instead of a week is there's 7 months where you meet once a week over Zoom for 3 hours. They broke up the week into like those some segments. And then after the 7 months at the end of the year, you start that again.
Oh, wow. That is great. So for me, this seems like it's very huge for people who are struggling with limiting beliefs and self-doubt, self-sabotage, and different things that keeps them from actually moving forward. And even like during COVID, when they were struggling with making pivotal shifts, people were so much into their feelings and emotions that they almost was like emotionally paralyzed. Did you find that being the same thing for people that you work with?
Totally. People are like really unsure what's going on. It's interesting to see like clients that was in the middle of working with them while COVID and like how they had some of the tools and not all of them, like each one at their own stage. Yeah, it's also really good. Speaking of limited beliefs, like another really good exercise that anyone could use at home is you first take a paper, you fold it in half, and you write with your dominant hand all the things that you think about yourself. I'm not worth it. I can't do this, whatever you want. Now, with your non-dominant hand, answer back to every single one of those answers in whatever language you want. No one's judging you here. No one's saying here. And just tell yourself what you really think. Remember, it's your non-dominant hand, so you're not thinking. And this is what your inside really, really, really thinks about you, not just the outside messages that now you're consciously thinking about.
Oh, I like that. Oh my gosh, this is super huge and something that I actually have found myself using without even knowing that this was such a thing because of the fact that like I often want to practice with my left hand to actually get it stronger. So I'll write something with my right and then practice using with my left. And, also finding out that I'm psychologically androgynous, which is basically always having that emotional balance place. And I think that's what helps as well. So whenever I actually had to figure out what it was myself. So I went and did some research and was like, oh my gosh, they said emotionally androgynous people or psychologically androgynous people are very emotionally balanced where like I'll have a feeling, emotion, and I'm quickly able to balance it with like, okay, that wasn't that third intent. This is actually what's going on, kind of thing. And it happens second nature. So I can find where I can see how this journaling style can actually have a person end up going into that being second nature of looking at things from balancing their emotions as well as their logic and making a wise decision at the end of the day.
So cool that you have it naturally.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it. I'm like, "Ooh, thank you."
How did you know? Like, how did you figure out about it?
Well, so because of the fact that like I kept having people say to me, "Oh my gosh," because as I'm also a therapist, but I've always worked in areas like dispatching 911, working in the medical field, things that were high intensity. And so while I'm seeing everybody around me get all spastic, I just like literally will stop and then just start kind of looking at things from a full perspective and just start acting from that space. So I always consider myself like the rod in the midst of the storm when everything is flapping all over the place. I'm just still. And I kept having people comment about, oh my gosh, you're just kind of, weird. They will call it weird because it's like everybody else is running around and you're like standing there and you're able to make all these decisions without like getting all emotional in your feelings. Now, there are times where I do get, in my feelings, and I have to do this reality check. But I just kept having people tell me that. And then of course, as when I was going to school and became a therapist, one of that was one of the things that they had, psychology androgynous. I was reading about it and I was like, oh my gosh, that is like so me. And so I started doing more research about it, and I was like, oh, they were like, that makes the best client. They make also the best therapist, because they're always in like this balanced state instead of being over here and over there. And so I found that being helpful for me, because when my coaching clients as well as my therapy clients are talking to me, I'm able to just listen and then come up with a quick plan based on who they are. And I realized that I'm a strategic thinker when it's necessary. Like I can flip back and forth very easily. So it's just really weird. And I mean, I wouldn't say weird, I would just say it's a blessing to be able to do that, because it's something that not many people are able to do. So
Yeah, I think it's so cool. It's like, imagine the whole world to be like that. Oh my God, it's a real blessing. You got lucky.
thank you. Well, I think that we as a nation, it's important for us to learn how to like get out of our feelings and not like take everything so personal. And I think that's one of the things that we do. We actually just take everything like people's intention is out to hurt us. Where I look at it, well, this person did the best that they could. Now there are those people that are manipulative, and quickly I can spot those people, and I have learned to have very clear boundaries around that. And so, speaking of boundaries, I think learning this and being able to use your right hand to like ask yourself a question, and then use your left hand or your non-dominant hand to respond, allows you to really be truthful with yourself, and then set clear boundaries like, no, I really don't want to do that, kind of thing. Or I'm not really, pr- you know, go to the over here, or do this at this particular time, or I'm not interested in having this person as my client, or yeah, this person is not going to be a good coach for me. Like, you can take the moment to step back, ask yourself that question, and really get the real answer, really what you want, and then be able to just respond from that place. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it so is. It's like you get the whole view when you're using every part of yourself.
Yeah, most definitely. So how has this helped you, not just in your business, but in your life as well?
Yeah, so for sure, first when it started, like the way I came about it was, like I said, I was open to see if there's someone else that could come, that like something else I could do with the clients. And I was like literally just open. And someone who needed a place to stay for the weekend ended up staying by my house, and she does this. And I was talking to her and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, you do this, you just write with your non-dominant hand, and like now you get your answers and you could figure things out. And I was like, okay, I want to learn more about this. So I went to do sessions by her, because like before getting trained into it, I wanted to hear what it was doing. And she does like over Zoom, then also like it was before. Yeah, and she did then also over Zoom people for people who lived away from her, and she lived like 2 hours away from me. And I was like, no, I need to do this in person. I need to do this right. I drove 2 hours each direction to go and meet her. And I remember like from the first session, I like sat there, like I think about it still. She had like these like big huge windows in her office there, and like I'm just like writing, and my whole life is just like coming down on me, and I'm like realizing and figuring out what's going on here. Like, for example, I was doing photography full time at that point, and for some reason I decided that I need another job also besides for that. And like it was a job I hated, and it wasn't something I was interested in doing. And I realized like what emotions were attached to it and why I was doing it. And I was able to go and realize that like, hey, I'm gonna leave. And I sent them like a leaving notice, and I left a few weeks later. So like that was cool. And just like understanding all my relationships with people in my life, like why I'm acting certain ways with certain people. I now also like I never have a problem with like, what should I do? Should I do this or not? Because I always know I could like sit down, journal about it, and by the end of this thing I will get an answer. I just want to make a disclaimer that if you try this the first time and you don't feel like you got anything out of it, or your like non-dominant hand is saying no, nothing or whatever, then it's fine. Because just like when you meet a stranger the first time, they're not going to go and tell you everything. If you're not if you're not connected with your body, with like yourself, then it's not going to give you the answers. So don't give up. Try it again a few days later. Build up that trust, and eventually you will go and get your answers. There's this.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. So just to give you a really cool story of someone who like making decisions of like why this is so awesome. There is someone who actually does this also. She was like in my class with me, and like we became quite good friends. And it was like in the before COVID. Yeah, we're talking about like end of January, right? Beginning of February, something like that. She calls me up. She's like, I have this opportunity. Somebody offered me to fly with their daughter to abroad overseas, and they're going to pay for half my ticket. All I have to do is fly with the girl, fly back. Otherwise, I could do whatever they want. They just needed someone to think, like, do you think I should do it or not? I'm like in between jobs now. She was like literally just left, and she was like starting a new one. And like, I think it's a really cool opportunity. I was like, why are you asking me? Like, she called me up, right? I'm like, why are you asking me? You know what I'm going to go and tell you to do. Go and journal. This is the thing. She's like, yeah, you're right. I should go and journal. And she went and she journaled. And she got the answer was like, she's like, no, it's not safe. Why is it not safe? Because of COVID-19. Now, this is like before people really knew, like it was something in China, nothing else was going on. And she's like, what would happen? She's having her dialogue between her two hands. Would you be able to protect me from COVID-19? And her non-dominant hand, meaning her subconscious, her body's like, no, it's not safe. I can't do that. So she had no clue what that meant, but she knew that she wasn't going, and she thought it was like a joke, but like, okay, she trusts the process. She's been doing this enough, and she knows she shouldn't go. The day that she was meant to land in that country, like for when those tickets would be, was the day that country closed down of COVID, and she wouldn't have been able to come into that country. So that might be a story that some people don't like because it's like too woo-woo-ish, but I think it just shows that, like, I don't know if her body really knew that that was the day that Corona's going to go and close down, but it knew that stuff was going on. It's not right thing. And it helped her make that decision. She was able to stay home, have no problem, and didn't get into any situations.
No, and you talk about this possibly being woo-woo. It's like you think about people who are driving down the road and they, and their normal route is to go like get to the corner, make a right, go down the street, make a left. And as they're getting to the corner, they have this strong, intuition, this strong instinct, this strong voice, whatever they want to call it, that says go left. And then when they go left, instead of going right, they find out that there was a major car accident and somebody got killed or something if they would have went that way, or they would have been in a bad accident. So, it's our subconscious really knows what's going on. I actually do an exercise, not the same, but similar, where I'm helping people look at their mindset around money, success, their boundaries. Do they really have clear boundaries? How they actually feel about themselves. And it's one that I do where it's tapping into their subconscious to do that. And I feel like adding this variation on top of that will just magnify it even more so. Like, so when people are saying, no, I really am, feel like I can make 7 figures. And then when they write, it's like, no, you really don't believe it.
Right.
Are you capable? Yes. But do you believe it? No, which is keeping you from being able to have that success. So I absolutely love that story, because I'm sure that there was a lot of people that probably had something similar where they had this instinct like, should I travel? No, you know what? I'm not going to go. And then come to find out, good thing they would have gotten stuck had they actually went to wherever they were scheduled to go. So yeah, I like that. I appreciate you sharing that example. Definitely those that are listening, I hope that you get it and understand that this is something that it's not like a woo-woo trick. This is really helping you tap into who you are as a person and actually figure out those real answers that you have been asking. And it just doesn't seem like no one is able to answer those for you because it's already inside of you. I mean, you can't get any better than that. It's like having free therapy.
Literally, the point of it is to learn the tools so that way you could go and do yourself. That's why I tell people, like, you could just buy the books and do it yourself, and you'll know exactly what to do.
One question I do have to ask you, have you found when you're doing this, when you're working with couples, like, when they're really asking themselves those questions and it seemed like they were at that ultimate state of love, they end up finding that they didn't really belong together or want to be together, that some people just chose to be in that relationship for security or something else. Like, has that ever came up?
It's a really interesting question. None of my clients had that, because usually my clients are people who are in good relationships. Like, they're not like bad. Like sometimes it's like literally right after their wedding, or they came back from they're in that high state. And it hasn't happened, but I'm sure there are people like who would do that, would go and try that out. That would be really interesting to see. And then like, okay, so what do we go from here? How do we go and figure it out? It would be cool.
Well, I just want to know, anybody who's listening and those that view it via YouTube, if you've had practice it, I want to know what your experiences are, because I think that this is super amazing. And I would love to continue to follow up with those people to see what kind of things that you write about, and then what was some of the responses and how it has helped you. Because I think that that would be super amazing for people to be able to see how simple it is to just add just a little variation of things and make a different trajectory in their life and their business. So, ST, is there anything else that you can add or feel that people need to know when it comes to creative journaling, art, expressive art?
Yeah, I just want to add that I was never into journaling. I know people, like tons of people talk about it and say it's really good to dump out your feelings. And I think that it is really good. I just could not bring myself to do it. It wasn't my type of thing. I'm more like the person that will like hash it out with a friend or someone like that to go and like clear my thoughts. But I still do journaling now, and it like changes. So even if you're like listening to this and you're like, okay, journaling is like not for me, never mind. Try it with your non-dominant hand, see what happens. You could also do things not just with journaling, but also do like art stuff with your non-dominant hand just to express your emotions and see what's happening from that. So like if you like painting, next time you paint, just move it to your other hand and then just paint a picture. If you want to take it even one step further, then you could paint the picture with your non-dominant hand and then journal with the picture, like the exercise I told you earlier, that instead of drawing with the picture, you painted it. Or if you like doing stuff with clay, then do something with clay. Or you like music or movement, anything that could let you release your emotion, tap into yourself more, go for it.
Oh, wow. I like that. So how, ST, can people find you, follow you, connect with you?
Yes. So the best place is one of two things. Either you could go check out the podcast, LifePix Relationships, where you'll hear from me twice a week there. Or you could go to lifepixrelationships.as.me, and I'd love to speak to you.
Most definitely. And I'll definitely make sure that information is in the show notes. And I'll even include the person that you mentioned regarding who actually kind of like created it or actually introduced it to you, so that they can actually follow her and read more information about it. So, I mean, honestly, this is really great information that is going to really change people. And I think going into 2021, we need something new. We need something fresh. We need something different that's really going to help us get out of that emotional state that so many people have been in for such a long time right now, that they're struggling. So maybe if this can change someone's depressive state and get them moving and going, oh my gosh, this will be amazing.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. And guys, if you tried it out, let me know what happened. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, most definitely. And, I have a Decide to Move podcast Facebook group, so feel free to comment there on YouTube as well as on all the listening platforms. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for another episode. And thank you so much, ST, for being here with me and just, always coming up with some great information. I just want to say, continue doing what you're doing, because you do some amazing work.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you so much for joining me, and have a happy holiday, and talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Decide to Move podcast with Monica M.bijoux. If you are ready to make a pivotal shift and take your destined position in the world, then schedule a free discovery call by going to www.decidetomove.com. For all links mentioned in today's show and to listen to previous episodes, go to www.decidetomovepodcast.com. And remember, we've all been delivered rotten fruit in our past. We can choose to chew on the rotten fruit trying to convince ourselves it's what we want, or we can become the fruits of our labor and create an incredible, fulfilling, and inspiring life and business out of it. You have what it takes to create the life you want.